My name is Cheryl Blue, and I'm the Executive Director of the 30th Street Industrial Corridor Corporation. And I would like to welcome you all to the historic Garden Homes neighborhood. This is a historic neighborhood nationally as well as locally. This neighborhood was actually the promise zone for many people who came from the South to Milwaukee to have a better standard of living. Also, in 1960, had the highest standard of living for black people in the United States of America, right here in this neighborhood.
All right, let's do it again.
That's what we're trying to restore here today, is restore community, restore living wages, restore home ownership, restore community in the neighborhoods.
This was the highest standard of living for black people in America in this neighborhood.
It beats New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Miami, Dallas, Texas. This was the forecaster of government involvement in housing.
This became the first black middle class neighborhood where black people were able to send their children to college, where you had teachers and doctors and lawyers and lived in this neighborhood for a while.
And this was the largest housing cooperative in the whole United States. An owner had an opportunity to purchase some equity within this the stock of the neighborhood.
It's a special neighborhood because people were really able to actualize their dream here, owning a nice home, living in a nice neighborhood, having a high standard of living, good schools, all of that was right here.
It really followed a model of what they call the garden cities, which were really most in England in the early 1900s, and just have elbow room and things of that sort. After World War I, when there was a great housing shortage, Mayor Daniel Hohen, who was a socialist mayor at the time, put together this concept of what became known as the Garden Homes neighborhood. And in 1990 was recognized by the United States government because of the history impact it had on the city of Milwaukee. The neighborhood is now registered in the National Registry of Historic Places.
The 30th Street Industrial Corridor is a 25-year-old organization to do economic development in this area of the city, which is the industrial corridor of the city. You have the rail, you have all of this industrial buildings, and what's unique about this industrial corridor is that it's in neighborhoods. So if you want to talk about revitalizing the area, you can't do that without talking about revitalizing the communities and the people. Unemployment, employment, you talk about crime and safety, you talk about home ownership and having more homes on the tax rolls. All of these different things are all related to community development, and we believe that empowering people in the neighborhood, reconnecting people in the neighborhood is a way to catalyze the movement for the entire area.
We really do need a paradigm shift. We have to shift our consciousness.
We got an array of resources and skills and wisdom in this room. We need a commitment day, a start date, and let's get it popping.
We go table to table. The conversation is getting richer and more robust. And so to have a process like this that can be replicated over and over in a neighborhood is very important.
What are the things that we can do to get the people who live in the community to respect their community, to love their community, to feel a part of the community? How can we foster connectedness?
I would like to say positively that I believe that we're here to commit. I understand what Juice is saying because I think that's the thinking of our young people, that we do a lot of talk and no work. Well, we're ready to stop that.
And we can put dates together to where we have activities together, whether it be not just a block party, some type of thing. I know in you guys' neighborhood, the older men like to play chess, a chess tournament.
Seeing some of the older people that have grown up in this neighborhood all my life being here, saying that they still care, is very positive.
Which is important for all of us to come together, like she stated, and to discuss this, because we all live in the same city. But there's something powerful going on here in the Garden Homes neighborhood.
The 30th Street Corridor received a grant from the Argosy Foundation to do some green infrastructure type of work in the community. And so we decided to do a rain garden in Garden Homes Park. And talking to different partners and things like that, we realized that we're all working to improve the neighborhood, so why not sit at a table together instead of separately? How can we work together instead of in silos? How can we work together to maximize our impact? We were all able to get more funding from Argosy to help us with the process, and so we brought on Chris Boston, who grew up in this neighborhood, is very passionate about the neighborhood, and is a master facilitator throughout the nation to help us with this effort.
Last month we talked about the 3 C's of success when it comes down to community development. Coordination is basically bringing different organizations together, different agendas together, and figuring out how best we can do the dance, how best we can engage with one another in a way that does not step on each other's toes, but that maximizes the potential of what we can bring to a neighborhood. And coordination, communication is really us figuring out how, and the sharing of information, we can essentially have an understanding.
Over the past 2 years, we've engaged well over 100 residents in the neighborhood, as well as over 40 different entities. That's businesses, churches, community organizations, different constituencies that are vested in this area. A lot of times people look at the community, the hood, and say, oh, there's nothing there, but there's a lot here. There's lots of churches, there's lots of families, there's lots of homeowners, there's lots of community-based organizations. And so how do we kind of change our lens to say what are the assets that we can build on, as well as taking a different approach and not just saying what somebody else needs to do, what City Hall needs to do, but what can we do together to improve our neighborhood.
On behalf of the members of the City of Milwaukee Common Council, I express congratulations to you for the honorary renaming of West Point Sunnyport under Freeman's Way.
All right.
We have to take charge, we have to take ownership around different areas of the plan and come together to get it done. And that's the only way it's going to happen.
This is terrific. We have a lot, tons of great neighbors, and this is the way that we could share our resources and lock arms and be able to work together to uplift the neighborhood and keep it going in a very positive direction.
It feels good to see people coming together, to see people engaged, to see the plan coming together. But at the same time, it's a lot of work. The relationships that you have to build, the calls, the emails, the stopping in, going to other people's, meetings and events and kind of pulling it all together.
Well, if we're not able to capture the neighborhood voice and the direction that the neighborhood wants to go in, then the city is probably moving in the wrong direction. Without having a strategic planning process that's able to pull out the priorities of the neighborhood, it's very difficult to align all of the resources in the right places.
I care because this is home. This is home. This is where I live. This is where my family is. And what I know is that this city is not going to get better if we don't all get engaged and all get involved to make it better.
I see great hope for the future. This is an outstanding endeavor, and I'm so proud and privileged to be a part of it. It just seems like it's a big family, so this is very important to me.
It's been amazing. Just in terms of the commitment, for example, we have the steering committee. We have about 15 people on the steering committee, most of whom are residents. We've been meeting twice a month for the last several months in the evenings. We have people, passing out flyers, inviting people from their church, taking charge, facilitating different parts of the process. Again, that demonstrates to me people's commitment and their belief and faith that we can get this done. During the different processes that we've gone through, we basically worked around several different topic areas that we wanted to address. There's neighborhood pride, housing, crime and safety, education, health and wellness, economic development, and jobs. And so the plan will have action steps around each of these areas and which organization will take the lead, as well as the partners for each of those areas.
And that collective realization is what's going to create the momentum for creative ideas at work.
Like I said, I'm focusing on young men. May look scary. They are people. They are human. They have hearts. They need guidance and direction.
We wanted to know how we could make these homes that are vacant available.
Let's schedule more neighborhood cleanups. Let's bring more of the elders out of their homes, to help with gardening, different things like that. And so then once we got everybody's feedback around every topic, then we break that down into action items of what we can do. It's going to take all of these things moving forward together in order for us to be successful.